Anyway, okay. Everyone's ready. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sandra Aljami, and I'm with ICOM Professional Services, and I'm a consultant working on strategic planning as well as goal setting. So this is my second time around, so I'm glad to see a few familiar faces in the room that can assist with the process, and we have a great day planned for you as far as getting the goals for Charles County government for the next 3 years or the next fiscal period. I want to start out by saying that this is the agenda, our working agenda for today. So just to give you a little bit of what we're going to be doing today, we're going to review the February 22nd document, which is a document that does have some of the thinking from the commissioners, but I only included those that overlapped with the directors. And so there are ideas that you may have, so once we get to that document, we'll get a chance to look at it. Second, the goal is to bring working clarity to your vision for Charles County government and also to reach agreement on overarching goals. So last time we came up with, I think we started previously with four goals, and this time we're going to go from 4 to 7 depending on what you come up with for the day. We really don't want to go more than 5, but we'll see what the day holds for us. Then we're going to talk about the next steps. Let's start with what we're doing here today. So what we're going to do is we're going to brainstorm. We're going to open. We're going to come up with ideas. And some of the ideas are going to come from the document, and that's what the directors, which is a document that says the directors believe that these are some of the things that are important to them and to Charles County government. And they wanted to make sure that this is included in your conversations and discussions. It is not a guide. It's a resource for your thinking around goals for Charles County. Then what we're going to do is we're going to, after we brainstorm, we're going to narrow. You're going to narrow, and we're going to use this sticky board here. And with that narrowing, we're going to bucketize. We're going to bucketize the ideas, and we're going to come up with the overarching goals, and then we're going to come up with the central themes. And then we're going to narrow, as we narrow down, and then we're going to close. And in our closing, you're going to come up with ideas. We're going to break you up into groups as we did in the past. And what you're going to do is you're going to come up with the themes and the overarching goals. And you're going to kind of say, this is why we think this is important. But more importantly, we're going to come in, we're going to come in with agreement. When we leave this room, we're going to agree on what we're talking about. We're going to support one another, what we come up with today inside the room and outside the room. And those were the definitions that I was talking about. Then we'll go to the next steps. The next steps include that after we finish for the day, what I do is I take the document based on what you said, and I pretty much wordsmith it and bring it back. And then you work with county administration in making sure these are the goals that you want to use for the next fiscal period. Do I have any questions here so far? No? Like I said, I know you're not a quiet group, but let's see. When we get to that point, let me just give you a quick little overview. Last time, just so that you, for those who was not part of the process, so that I want you to see what the output looks like. So just say, this is what we're working toward. So this is the last fiscal period that came up, one of the overarching goals was transformational government. Then they had some central themes: management best practices, automation, customer service, and we had the second goal and the third goal. So that's what we're looking at, to make sure that we have an overarching goal and then we have some central themes. So that was goals 3 and 4. Well, and then lastly, this is what it will look like when it's rolled out. When it's rolled out to the directors, because as you look at these goals and you develop and establish these goals, what happens is that you have to think about when it rolls out to the directors. I want you to make sure that you have in consideration what can the directors do to help the county achieve those goals. So if it's something with management best practices like it was the last time, what would the different departments be doing? So when they get together, they're going to come up with their objectives to these goals to make sure that they're doing the things across the board to ensure that these goals get achieved. Okay? So this is what it will look like in the end. That's it so far. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started, and I want to put up some of the goals, some of the thinking, actually. Well, before I even do that, I wanted to make sure I let everyone know. The restrooms are over there. As a facilitator, it's my responsibility to let you know the restrooms are over there. You know how in and out, the way you came in, emergency exit is over there. So these are some of the goals and some of the thinking that came from, we can take a few, some of the goals that came from some of the directors. And as you begin to think about a clean slate, some of the goals were, they believe that were good, they should continue this term, but it's you, the commissioners, that will make that decision about what should be there. So I want to put in some of the thinking. And remember, this is just up here. What we'll be doing is moving them around based on your thinking of where they should go. Some of the things that came up was education, tourism, equitable program funding. The color of the cards there's no significance in the color of the cards. Content-specific lawyers, employee engagement, transformational government. Remember, so I'm going to be thinking, once I get this up here, then I'm going to be asking you, is there anything missing? So when you begin to think about the goals that you would like for Charles County government, also, how many do you want? So we know at one point there were 87. We know we don't want that again. So you might want to think about how many do you want? Economic development, governance leadership. And these are just ideas. They're not goals. You'll determine what the goals are. Legislation, public policy, cybersecurity, healthcare, citizen employment investment, and I think that came out of youth jobs, infrastructure, transportation, county identity/image, entertainment, recreation, asset management, environmental stewardship, private land public use, increased commercial tax, business attraction, matching grant funding, climate change, preparedness, cultural competency, diversity, and traffic. This is their thinking. Just because it's up here doesn't mean you have to use it. So I just want to take a look at that. While we have this up there, does anyone need time to take a look at the document? Did everyone get an opportunity to read the document? If not, we want to hold space for that right now. Did everyone get an opportunity? Or is there, let's negative poll. Did anyone not get an opportunity to read it? Oh, good. All right. Another thing that I might want to add, we kind of got started a little bit later, so we might need to extend this a little bit, which kind of throws it off a little bit, but we're going to have a break. Let's say we'll have lunch probably at 1:45, between 12:30 and 1:45, and then we'll go into a break later on this afternoon. Lunch will be on the other side of the door. There's another room over here. That's where we'll have the lunch. And we may need to extend it a little bit past 3:30, past 3 o'clock, so that we can make sure that we get all the goals and we finish the work for the day. Any questions about that? Oh, you're silent and quiet. Let me pull out my red cards, because those are for arousal. All right. So is there anything up here that you think that should be in here, or anything else? What's missing? What I'm going to do is add to the board, and I think once we get all the ideas up there, and then what we'll do is we'll bucketize them. We'll put them into buckets where there's suggestive overarching themes, overarching goals.
Is affordable housing up?
Okay. Nope. So this is our brainstorming session. Affordable housing.
On commercial tax increase, there'd be commercial tax base, increased commercial tax base, or is that?
Commercial tax base.
Yeah, like from the, not increasing taxes amount, but the tax base.
Okay. So I'm putting these up here. Don't get me on the spelling, but y'all can help me if I misspell something. Commercial tax base. Okay.
Internet access?
Getting ready to say, I thought I saw something about it, but automated technology, what is it? Apply to?
There was some cyber security safeguarding, but you want to put internet access?
Yeah, I think that's important.
Okay. So as you think about some of the goals, and I think many of you brought some goals to me, I want to make sure that you pull out some of those goals that you were thinking of. And if I've missed anything in the document or that you think should be up here, please include that.
Can you add promoting agriculture and aquaculture?
Agriculture, say that again?
And aquaculture. And it kind of goes under environmental stewardship, but it's a little more specific.
Agriculture and
Aqua.
aquaculture. Thank you.
You can put forestry in there too, that, they all kind of clump together.
On this card?
Yeah, you can put forestry, all
Okay.
that kind of goes together.
Remember, just because it's up here a certain way doesn't mean that's the way it has to stay.
Is there anything up there on permits,
Permits?
streamlining permits?
Okay. Streamlining permits.
And I don't see public safety. Could you add that?
Public safety? Absolutely. Public safety. I like that there are a lot of things up there already, so because when you break out into groups, this will give you language in order to come up with some of the central themes for them. Anything else?
You have economic development in some way?
Yeah, that's up there.
Economic development.
Could you, so I guess a subgroup of that would be like international trade or ideas associated with international trade.
Okay, international trade.
I know a lot of those will apply to it, but I think it's important to have Indian Head Naval Base up there too.
Okay. Is that just Indian Head Naval Base, or is this related to employment?
That's why I say it's broad, but I think it's a focal point for a lot of the things that are on that board.
Okay. This is not going to be the last time we're able to add to the board, but I just want to let you know that. So if you see some of these things up here and you believe that there are some other items that need to be a part of it, we're going to do that as well. Anything else?
About customer service.
Customer service? Sure. Like I said, I know you guys aren't quiet. Customer service?
I can't see it, just in terms of overall, government operations, some, in some form addressing, Title VII and diversity issues. Is that
I have-
incorporated in any way?
I have diversity, but do you want Title VII separate from that?
No, that should be good. And also, form of government.
So when you say form of government,
I mean, presently, operate, as the commissioner form of government, but looking at, possibly charter.
okay,
I take that we're under code home rule, but,
under what?
code home rule,
Okay. Do I need to put that up there?
no,
Okay. What else, Matthew? Do you have anything? No? So as you begin to think about like, some of these ideas, at the end of the day, is this what the direction, if you look at this board, does it represent strategic north for this group of where you're trying to go with the county?
Add Maryland Airport up there.
Maryland Airport, okay.
like some of those specific projects, I was kind of, you had infrastructure up there, that's why, I was kind of looking at.
Yeah.
Are you gonna put, like, when you have, like, infrastructure, you're gonna put under it small things, like, not small things or big things, like specific projects that are prioritized for this administration? Is that how it's gonna break down? So we don't necessarily have to say the specific project, because it'll fall under infrastructure?
I think that's your work, to say what goes in it under infrastructure.
Okay.
But at the end, we will talk about the vital few, to say what's important to the commissioners, what are 3 top projects that you really hope to begin the process with.
Okay.
A collaboration.
Collaboration, sure. Collaboration. Anything else missing? For now.
College of Southern Maryland up there, I think it's probably, well, it goes under education, I think we'll be all right under
Goes
education.
under what?
I would say it's under education, but, so we don't probably have to put a separate,
Well,
college will go under that, I guess.
is there something specific? Is it education in general for?
Just education in general,
Colonel?
I think, so that should cover it.
Want to get your ideas out there. You can narrow it. We don't have to use it. I'll put it up there. Because as you come into agreement, you may say, you know what, this will focus, but it may be
Separate,
something else that you
separate.
come up with college.
Yeah, and you can put workforce development under that one, because that does go with College of Southern Maryland,
Workforce development.
yes.
Workforce development. This is good. A lot of different ones.
I don't know if it's been updated, and I don't see any staff that might be able to respond, but I know there had been some work in previous years on establishing a green building code, in our overall building code, but establishing within the code, at least incentives for developers to follow an actual green building code, whether it be mandatory or through incentives.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure how far we've gone on that.
Okay.
nonprofit collaborations.
Okay. This is just me thinking out loud. Any ideas for any type of expansion for anything within the government? Any type of expansion? No?
You have a card like you have an idea.
How about transportation network?
Transportation, say that again?
Transportation network.
Transportation network? Okay. Transportation network. Okay. And what else do we have? Anything? We can go into the next phase if you like. If you think this is a big start, you will come up with some other ideas because I do have some other ideas to help you generate more ideas. But I wanted to get this started now. So this is a start, a great start, a big start, a lot of work ahead of you. Doesn't look like you're trying to boil the ocean, but it looks like you have some work ahead of you. So the next part of this is to bucketize them and say, you know what, there are a lot of ideas up here. Where do we think they'll go? Where do they think they'll go? So I want you to think in terms of overarching goals and what might come under it. And this is going to be an iterative process, so we're going to do it once, and then you may come back and say, no, I think this belongs here. Me changing and moving things around is only because you guys are in agreement. So you'll hear me say, do y'all all agree to that? And so this is what this is about. So when we move, so let's think about if you were to put buckets. Remember I showed you some of the buckets the last time. That was transformational government. Those were the different things that we had the last time. So let's see, we had, last time, we had transformational government as an overarching goal. Then we had promote quality of life and resources. And then we had establish cohesive, sustainable community through collaboration. And then we had governance leadership. So I'm giving you some kind of goals, the overarching goals the last time. It doesn't have to be them. It's going to be iterative. So if you put them in buckets right now, where might they fall? So let's start with education. Where does education go? So education is one bucket. Where would tourism go? Is that something separate?
It's under, I think that would be under economic development.
Economic development?
Unless somebody thinks
I know it's in here.
Second row, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Under economic development, you would also put, that would go with,
You said tourism under
Yes,
economic?
yeah, tourism goes under economic.
Okay. Remember, this is an iterative process. Go ahead.
You tax, probably.
commercial tax base would go into the economic development.
Okay, so when you start saying that, direct me over there where it
Okay.
is. Okay.
And then also,
Blue.
under the same one, you would put permits, streamlining permits under economic development, they all tie together.
Okay.
One could probably be infrastructure, would probably be a good top one, or a good, like, education, economic development, and infrastructure would be one of
Okay.
the top ones.
So we're saying infrastructure would be one.
Transportation under infrastructure.
Transportation. Under infrastructure.
The blue one right there in the middle, business, what does it say, business attraction?
Mhm.
Is that what it says?
Yes.
Economic development.
Thank you. Follow that lead. Tell me where it is. What color? That'll help. me.
Yellow.
No, that was good. The blue one right there. Okay.
Maryland Airport would go into economic development too.
Maryland.
It's blue in the middle, bottom.
There we go. Thank you. Let me put up the rest.
Then, beside the infrastructure for a leader, put transformational government, it's yellow,
Thank you.
put that as a title. And then underneath that, you can put, governance leadership, I think you had that yellow one back up there. And then to your right, you have collaboration, blue top. That one, under transformational government.
Okay,
And then yellow, you have, legislation. It could be under transformational government.
okay.
Probably put public safety under infrastructure,
Public safety?
under infrastructure,
Okay, public safety is,
bottom.
okay,
College of Southern Maryland under education. All the way at the top.
okay.
Internet access can go under infrastructure too. Bottom, straight down.
Okay.
Question for you.
Mhm.
Under education, what's the third one? What does that say?
It was just hanging out.
I know, what does it say?
It says equitable program funding and content-specific lawyers and Indian Head Naval Base.
Okay, the first two, funding, equitable funding,
Okay,
under transformational government.
all right.
And what was the second one you said?
Content-specific lawyers.
Transformational government.
The base can probably go under economic development.
Base
Mhm.
economic development.
And I would say agriculture would probably go under economic development too.
Agriculture.
Straight down.
Okay,
Unless you're gonna do an environment one at top. I mean, it could go under either or.
it's up to you guys.
Doing environment at the top.
Do an environment at the top. Let's put this here. Let's get
See, well,
environment.
I think it should go under both, honestly. I think it should go under environment and, because it's a business, but it also those specifically impact the environment. Can we have like,
2 and 1?
yeah, like.
Absolutely.
So put agriculture, aquaculture, and forestry under environment and under economic development?
This is the first flush. So we have,
So there's one that could come off that says increase commercial tax. I think that means commercial tax base. I think that needs to pull off the board. I don't think that needs to stay there.
okay, we in agreement? Take this one off?
It needs to pull it off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pull this off?
Yeah, yeah. I think we don't want to increase it, we want to bring our base up. That's what we're trying to
It's
do.
already there.
It's already there, yeah.
Okay, well, let's take this one off the
Can you
table.
put ag under,
Sure, I think that's a base.
agriculture under economic development too? Agriculture, aquaculture, and forestry.
Oh, God, my eyes are going cross.
Agricultural,
Aquaculture and forestry.
I think,
and you want this one to go where?
Economic development.
Okay,
diversity,
So it's-
diversity and, county identity would go under transformational government. Diversity is at the top, far right,
under,
transformational government. And, the county identity, which is like at the bottom, right there.
okay,
Can we have a title that says quality of life, and then underneath that, I want to do like quality life/lifestyle, and underneath that, you could put entertainment, recreation, healthcare.
okay,
Healthcare is on pink.
quality of life, healthcare here, and what else?
I can't say. Recreation, entertainment is pink.
Okay,
Workforce development could probably go under education. It's right here on the far right.
under education, okay.
I think workforce development is more under, I don't see that being with education. That's more with economic development or quality of life and lifestyle.
I think it would be under both if you're shrinking them under the education part and then using the implementation under economic development? Or no?
No.
I'm fine with moving it. I'm not hung up on putting it under education.
Where will we put it? Where will we place it?
Let me just leave it there for right now.
Okay.
The citizen.
Traffic infrastructure.
Do we have a, one that says transportation? Yeah, transportation network is pink to your, third, right there. Transportation network, pink.
Okay.
I think that should be a title.
Okay.
And then, under transportation network, you should put traffic, it's blue.
Keep
And
that.
then add another one that says, Van Gogh. Add another one, like Van Gogh or public transportation.
So you
So
have under, it's under infrastructure
Yeah,
now.
transportation.
Is it already there?
Well,
It's
Which one?
infrastructure has transportation.
Oh, then that needs to move to transportation network.
what,
I think-
which one needs to move?
I think infrastructure, you see how you have the, 1, 2, 3,
Just make it a top.
4.
let's say
The
infrastructure.
fourth is infrastructure, and then under infrastructure, you have transportation.
Mm-hmm.
I think transportation should stand on its own, so that transportation should go under transportation network.
Yeah, 'cause I was thinking, I thought.
Or
infrastructure-
that's the
yeah.
title, but I think infrastructure and transportation should be separate.
What do you think, group?
So
The only
what's
reason I don't-
transportation network? I mean, are you combining all the topics, transportation, traffic? That's the idea of the transportation network?
Well, the
Subtitle?
reason I said infrastructure is its own category is because when I think infrastructure, I think of public safety, of water and sewer, of roads. All this, it's kind of it's a broad thing, so I mean.
It is broad, I think it's too broad when we start diving deeper into the goals.
Okay.
A specific goal for that area. I think if you plan to put transportation, public safety, public works, that's too broad for the next steps. So I think transportation is one of our number one problems. I think it stands the right to stand on its own as a category.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
So you would make the title
Okay,
transportation and then just have transportation network under it.
So you're saying,
Correct.
I mean, because they overlap to a degree because it is
Infrastructure,
infrastructure.
yeah.
so
Right,
we
they
can
do.
put it in both places, how about that?
You have, that's automated technology, correct?
Yes.
That should be under transformational government as well.
I think public safety should almost be on its own, shouldn't it?
Okay, so
Well,
automated technology
it
should
could
be
I
under
think so. I think it
Transformational
should be.
government.
transformational government.
I just don't know, it depends, the ones across the top, how many are we looking for to have across the top? Are we gonna break it down to a smaller group?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna do
It's
some
gonna
work on
get
that.
smaller.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna get
Well, I'm fine
smaller.
with putting public safety on its own, but I think ultimately it comes back under infrastructure. That's just so I'm fine with moving it out there.
Let's see, and you've got employee engagement also, I would imagine that
Customer
would be under
service.
with the transformational government.
Employee engagement?
Right.
Okay. We still have some other things coming out. We've made this a separate one.
Under infrastructure,
Okay, let me just get that employee engagement there. Okay.
under infrastructure,
Uh-huh.
what we don't really have up there is a statement about regarding public works or the management of water and sewer. The water and sewer, I would say, go under infrastructure.
The infrastructure, water and sewer?
Yeah.
Okay. Water and sewer. Can I put these both in the same part?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Water and sewer.
And a separate card under the same title,
Uh-huh.
storm management.
Storm management?
Yes.
Okay.
Climate change preparedness could go under the environment.
Storm management under infrastructure, okay. You said climate change,
Could go under environment,
It's blue.
blue right there, just
Uh,
above you,
okay, under environment,
which is the far right. You have it that way.
okay.
Environment stewardship, I think you have also.
And
Environmental I see environmental steward, down under public.
Oh, environmental stewardship, okay. Do you need one for legislation?
That'd probably be under transformational government, wouldn't it be, or no?
I don't know, it's up to the group. You'll have a lot of opportunity to really hone in and define what goes under which one.
Cultural competency should probably go under transformational government.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Cultural competency should probably go under transformational government.
Okay.
Get, international trade under economic development.
International trade and economic development, okay.
And you can also have customer service over there, which would be under transformational government. The yellow, yeah, right.
Okay.
Pull it up, so. Oh, don't, but you might be.
So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's pretty good.
We have 7,
Well,
actually. 'Cause those
6,
two-
7,
yeah.
okay. And we have some ideas hanging out here.
Where's affordable housing?
Affordable housing?
And is that quality of life?
Quality.
Oh, infrastructure?
I think that would go under, that's both. A nonprofit collaboration can go under quality of life, lifestyle.
Infrastructure,
Which one?
affordable housing.
No,
Infrastructure,
nonprofits.
okay.
Form of government be on its own, correct?
Okay. Well, let's get back to the affordable housing. Where does that go?
I would think infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure? Okay.
Asset management can go under transformational government.
Asset management, okay.
Cybersecurity, that's more government, so that's transformational government, wouldn't it be? Because we're protecting our own cyber.
Or infrastructure.
Huh. The green building code would probably go under infrastructure.
Transformational government, that's policy.
Okay, well, we're gonna do one at a time. Which one? Okay, let's start with green building code. Where might you think this go, or does it not?
I think it's government
Government?
policy.
And if you don't have anywhere to put it, we can put it in the
No, I
imaginary
think she's
parking
right.
lot up
I think,
there.
I think Commissioner Stewart's right.
That's what I was thinking, environmental, but I don't know what the
Huh.
intent of that is.
It's kind of a cross one when it goes in both.
So,
Environment and,
environment,
under policy too.
environment,
Is the last one.
and we'll put it under policy. It's nice that you're coming up with all of these ideas, because you'll have the opportunity to kind of say why it goes there. So green building, and where else did you want it to go?
Transformational government, I think is where she suggested.
Okay.
Private land, public use?
Private land, public use.
Is that economic development?
Can go under both that and environment.
Private land, public use?
Private land,
Depends
public
on what,
use.
it depends on the person who suggested it, what do they really mean?
I think it had something to do with easement.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, you're talking about, that's almost an infrastructure. You're talking about like roads and stuff like that. Access
That's
to,
infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
I think it's more talking about sewers and drainage.
yeah, infrastructure then, I would think.
Infrastructure?
I would think.
Mhm.
Okay.
If that was the
Intent.
intent of the person who suggested
Yeah,
it.
I'm not sure.
What about cybersecurity?
That's what I'm saying, is that under, if that's applying to our own
I
county?
think that's
Yes.
infrastructure, right?
Cybersecurity would be more like, are we protecting our assets within the county government, wouldn't it be?
Mm-hmm.
So that would go under, I would think, transformational government.
Transformation.
'Cause that's more of an in-house thing other than outside, opposed to outside.
So you're labeling infrastructure for an outside entity?
What's that?
I say infrastructure, you're labeling as just strictly out infrastructure
I
for
would
the
think,
outside?
yeah, that's what I would think infrastructure is like,
Outside of county
Infrastructure,
government?
not.
no, I think she was asking me what in my view, I view infrastructure as like roads, like, you know,
Strictly.
public
Safety.
safety,
Mhm. That's a
sewer,
good one,
water.
okay. But I think the intent was the equipment, internet, all of that safeguarding.
Well,
what
that
we
is
have.
infrastructure.
Okay. So where do we want to put that?
I think it stays under government,
Under
since you're being
government?
specific about just county government.
Okay. What about form of government?
Whole nother ball of wax.
We have matching grant funds, don't have to use it. We have public policy, we have citizen employment investment.
What do they
So
mean by matching grant funds?
I think when,
It's like
part of the county,
governmental,
a lot of the
governmental.
departments are based on, not a lot, but a few departments are based on grants. And there's some grants out there that if the county matches the grant, then they'll be able to get more grants.
That's a policy thing, I would
That's
think.
on the government.
The citizens' employment investment would be under education with workforce development.
Okay. And then we have public policy, and we can let them hang out until you decide.
They both probably go under transformational government, I would think.
Public policy.
Yeah, because matching grant funding is kind of under that umbrella of public policy, isn't it?
Where would you like them?
I think, unless y'all think otherwise, under transformational government. Both of them.
You have a lot here,
Yeah.
but they will narrow down. Go ahead. And matching grant funds?
Same.
Okay. What about form of government?
That's on its own, I think. Like, it's another category.
Form of government's kind of like a whole nother,
How does that look to you?
That's 7. We got 7,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8.
How many do you really want? Or we'll just let that evolve throughout the day. One of the things that was done the last time, we had some different goals, overarching goals, and they collapsed them. They brought them together. They believed that that work was, so that's, hence you see some long titles on the goals the last time. So they brought them together. How does it look to you guys? Anything missing? Did I see, is legislation up there? Is that legislation? Anything missing? No?
I don't know if it's too specific, but one of the things I wanted us to explore is looking at, encouraging research and development as, an area for economic growth. Due to our proximity to the base, looking at those opportunities.
Opportunity zone.
Opportunities, and I also have like biotech industries also.
I think opportunity zones in itself is probably something that should be under economic development,
That's,
yeah?
that's what I have here. I didn't know if we were gonna get specific or.
So biotech and research and development, where would you like that to go?
Well, that would be economic development.
Economic development? Okay.
Also under there was opportunity zone.
Opportunities?
Zone, yeah.
Opportunity
That's under
zone.
economic development, yes.
Okay. Opportunity zone? Okay.
Zones is probably more than one, I think it's more
Okay.
than one.
Under,
Economic development.
no, yeah, how about that?
Comprehensive, anything, some part of.
I guess that would be public policy.
You think
A lot of good work, a lot of good ideas.
So we're good?
We're good?
We can go home now?
Oh, no, we have just begun. Commissioner Stewart and Commissioner Ritchie can tell you about that. We have just begun. I think that this might be a good time to go to lunch. What do you guys think? Huh? Not set up just yet? So now we're going to just keep working. About how long?
30, that'd be great.
Okay, all right, so pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this and say, we're going to break out into groups at some point and take a look at that. I must admit, you guys did a lot of good work fast. because you came with a lot of the information and things that were important to you. So I applaud you even from the beginning and for the directors for giving that information. So we have a lot of the information broken up into there. So my question is, when you're thinking about how many goals you want, you know, we're not going to break them up right now, but I just want some idea of what to look forward to, how we're going to narrow it down. Do you think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Do you think 8 goals are too many?
I think we can break it down more.
Okay. Any idea?
I mean, because there are a few things that overlap.
Mm-hmm.
I think infrastructure can be broadly defined, and as a result of that, there may be things that overlap just in terms of some specific areas that we have separation with infrastructure. And because generally speaking, transportation is infrastructure, you know. But I certainly understand, you know, the separation, because that is one of the most critical issues for our citizens, you know. So kind of determining, you know,
Could you make it
the most
transportation?
effective way.
Subcategory.
Transportation and infrastructure, could you title it that? That way it has transportation in it and it says infrastructure.
Sure, I can do any of that.
I'm asking Commissioner Collins what he thinks.
I mean,
Transportation.
Just
And
make the title transportation and
And
infrastructure.
Well, if you're saying that transportation falls under infrastructure, then there's no need to add an and. If you're saying that it's really, if you're saying that transportation falls under infrastructure, if you're gonna write one goal, I think the issue is it's big enough that when we get to the end, we should have a goal for infrastructure, but I think we have enough problems with transportation that a separate goal could stand on its own. If the will of the board disagrees, then just move those 3 under infrastructure. But changing the title will not, I don't think will change the end result with when the actual goal is written.
Make public
maybe
perception.
upon further discussion, we may be able to break it down further.
Do we need to categorize
You will.
the goals like 1 through 8, like number 1 priority, number 2 priority, number 3 priority?
yes, you are. So what's going to happen is that we're going to go in and we're going to look at the goals and we're going to break you up into groups. And you're going to define what should go where. And then you're going to come back and not necessarily defend it, for lack of a better word, but you're going to come back and discuss with the rest of the group. There will be 2 groups. Why this should be in here, and why we want to collapse, or why we want to put 2 together or separate it. And I think that's going to be very helpful to the rest of the group as we talk about that.
Should we try to knock some of them down like you're doing now, so it's going pretty smooth, like 1, 2, 3?
Really smooth. It really has.
Should we try to do that now, which one prioritizes more than anything else, and then bring down a smaller list when we go to the table?
Absolutely, sure.
Like for my example, like economic development, if we don't have that one, we ain't gonna be able to do the rest of them, because we need that to get everything else we wanna do done. That's what I'm trying to, so that should be, I think, number 1 priority, so every else priority can happen. Does that make any sense?
It does.
It does, and this is the group, you know, so I'm
Economic
looking for
development, economic
agreement.
development pays for everything else.
That's
is what
what I'm trying to say, that should be number 1, and then we can go, you know, everybody get their, with that coming in, we can get everything else done. So that's, I think that's our number 1 priority.
Okay, so
I
we'll
think
make that,
infrastructure's
so,
up there too.
I'm sorry, say that
I
again?
think infrastructure with your.
Well, yeah, get those
right,
together, but I
get
mean, we
those,
gotta get the tax
Yeah,
base
okay.
coming in to pay for everything we wanna do.
We're going to have time to go through the vital few, and that will be the vital few. Those are the most important things that I've just been informed that lunch is ready.
Oh, okay.
So, can we, on the dot as well, can we come back at 1 o'clock? One thing I do want to say, great job. I think the last time I came in, I was brought in probably earlier, so didn't have enough, the commissioners didn't have a lot of opportunity to gel and come up with ideas and things that they wanted to talk about. And what I see this time is that you guys came in, kind of have an idea of what you want to do and the direction you want to go, so which is really, really good. So that's some feedback for timing of coming in. So we're going to come back to here. Let's go back to this board. I know I'm not supposed to touch it, but let's go back to the board. Take another look. I want you to begin to think about, you know, these are some of the things that that you came up with a lot of great ideas up front, which was excellent. And I just want to say, is there anything missing? So when you begin to think about, 3 years from now, what was Strategic North? Did we do all the things that we had on our agenda? Did we propose all the ideas that we believe that were important to the constituents? So that's one of the things I want you to think about. So if somebody wants to take a picture of this, of the way that it is, it'd be helpful. So you guys okay with this? What's up here? It's never going to be too late to add. But what we're going to do right now, we're going to break up into groups. I see that you're a lot more energetic. Thank God for the food, get it going, get the juices flowing. So we're going to break up into 2 groups. And inside the 2 groups, we're going to divide these goals up. Half, there are 8. So one group will take half, the other group will take the other half. And what we'll do is we'll say, you know what, should this really be called education? Because I want you to come back and think about some overarching themes. We can pull out some of that. Think about some overarching themes, and let's see, we're going to pull out the boards. So we're going to have the easels behind for you to write on, because you're going to come up and say, these are the themes that we want to use. So can you pull back to the goals and the themes, maybe 2 pages back? I think this will be a good time to say, well, here you go, this will be good. So remember, this is what we're trying to do. We're looking for the overarching goal, and then we're looking for some central themes up beyond them. And this is what we're looking to do. So when you come back together, so if you get the group education, transportation, economic development, and infrastructure, you're going to come back and say, you know what, these are the things that should go under there. Maybe this should go somewhere else. So I want you to begin to think about it. And the rule is we're in agreement. We're in agreement, and it's a conversation, it's a dialogue, and it's information. Maybe the next person doesn't have the information or some insight that you would have, but I encourage you to have that dialogue about it. So what I'm going to be looking for, end product, is a overarching goal and central theme, and if this is the title that you decide to use, that's fine. Then we're going to come back, and then you're going to share with the other group what you've done, and they're going to share what they've done. And then we're going to come back to this board and say, this is what we think that it's going to be, and we're going to be in agreement when we leave here on that. And these are going to be the goals. I say that these are the goals for today and for tomorrow. And if you need to make changes, that's something amongst you guys, and that you will share that with the county administration about any goals that have been changed outside of here. At the end, the next steps of what I'm going to do is I'm going to wordsmith it, I'm going to put it together. It would be lovely if it left the room looking like that, but that's usually not what happens. But you'll come up with some ideas, and I'll wordsmith it and make sure that it looks like that. So when you get these back, you'll be able to say, this is what we signed on for. All right? So let's break it up to groups. Are we anticipating groups? No rhyme or reason as to why the groups are. I put the names in the hat and drew it out. Okay? What do we have? We have pairing up 2 groups, Commissioner Rucci, Commissioner Boland, and Commissioner Coates. And then in the next group, we have Commissioner Collins, we have Commissioner Stewart, and we have Mark Belton, our county administrator. And so what we want you to do is you can go, one group will be working on this side, another group will be working on this side.
We want to switch, Mark?
That will work.
That'll work. More importantly, you want to focus on there. So you want to take your time and look at that, and then I'll break out which ones you'll focus on. Not unless you, I'll say if you have a preference, fine, but if it gets to the point that you get to, no, I want that, then I'll make a decision. So, education. Any group we have 2 groups. So there's no spokesperson unless you want there to be one. So who wants to take the group of education?
We can.
How many are we splitting? categories?
Two groups.
Two groups, but
Two
how many,
groups.
4 and 4, or is it?
4 and 4.
4 and 4.
4 and 4. So who wants education?
I'll take it.
Education, so this group here. You're going to be focusing on that way, that direction to that board. Transportation.
I'll take it, or we'll take it.
We're gonna fill up their fours. That's a good.
Okay, economic development.
We got it.
That one.
We
Oh,
got
We
it.
went that one.
You were not shy about that. Okay, infrastructure.
We got that too.
Okay, transformational government. I'll
Yeah,
assign it.
actually, I'll go with that.
Okay, so
3 in a
1,
row.
2, 3. That's there. Quality and lifestyle. Quality of life and lifestyle. I'll assign it to the other group. Your group gets it. Environment.
We'll take that one.
Yeah.
Okay, environment and form of government.
What the hell am I supposed to do with that?
Well, I mean,
If we look at, we don't have a choice.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So maybe you might take this one.
We
instead.
already have 4. We have education, transportation, economic development, and quality of life. So we already have our 4.
No, you didn't get economic development, I don't think.
I thought we did.
No.
No,
You didn't.
It was waiting for
He- he
We were
Yeah.
snatching
We
from
just
it.
Oh, my.
Right, I was like, where you, where,
That's my main goal objective, Greg, hold on.
Right.
Okay, so education, transportation, and then, okay, what group? Give yourselves a name. What name? What name?
No, we had a surge for a second. It was 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. That's
Right.
3. So now we're going to give this to you because since you have so much, and then this way you can have that
So
one
we
too.
get an environment?
You're getting environment, quality of life,
Transportation.
lifestyle, transportation, and education. Okay?
All right.
What I'm going to do is move these 2 over here so it'll look a little bit. Traffic, transportation. So we'll know who has what and where.
So Gilby's gonna be doing a lot of talking.
How's that? Is that easier
Taking notes.
to decipher?
Okay.
Oh, they
Okay.
got heavy duty stuff.
So now, we want you to come up with some is this the groups?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We separate our
They were separated. I'm over
Balance-
here.
Okay.
I'm over here.
So look closer together.
All right.
All right, there you go, because your board is there.
Gotcha.
Commissioner Stewart knows the drill, right here. That's it. All right, and Commissioner Rucci knows what goes on over here, right? Okay, you're good. All right. So we're going to give this process at least 45 minutes. 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay, that's fine.
This is the track, the top one, the first one. Okay, so,
That's the goal.
yeah.
All right, so why you take that?
Just fun banter.
So, everyone, you did great work. You came up, you know, we went from the open, which was the brainstorming, and then we came down, we began to narrow, we're getting into the closing, but I do have one more question. So, 3 years from now, there's an article in the paper that talks about you, and you as the commissioners. This is your opportunity to shape the narrative of your work. What do you hope the article will say about your legacy here on the board, the work that was done through your leadership and the direction you took the county? Please take this list of goals you've created. Is there anything else you want others and yourself to be reading about?
We were able to fully fund our county to our best.
Okay,
And get some stuff done and not talk about it.
that's great.
Maintained integrity.
Awesome.
Made Charles County a better place to live.
So improve the quality of life for everyone.
I think that sums it up.
Yep.
But I think the focus has been, at least for me, on really jump-starting and building our economy. You know, and the terms I use is making this a consequential period of growth for the county, economic growth. You know, where we see an absolute shift on the positive in our overall economy. You know, where it's measurable. You know, it's not just something we talk about, it's measurable.
So, on lines of what Commissioner Collins just said, I'm very inclined to agree with measurable, outcomes that are measurable. You can definitely say we accomplished this. And so, in line with that, I'm really big on data-driven, making sure decisions are made based on data, not just based on friends or what I think that should happen. Because if you make the decision on data, then you should be able to back it up and see that it's manageable. And if it's manageable and you can see it, then that's justification for continuing the program or continuing the policy, continuing with the support and the budget. And not being afraid to say, oops, we tried this. Based on the data, it's measurable, but it's moving in the wrong direction. And not being afraid to say, you know what, we need to stop. We need to try something else. It's not working. Mm-hmm.
And if we can get our commercial tax base from 14 to 18%, we can achieve a lot of these goals with the tax dollars coming in for that. And that's what makes a difference in the whole county right there. And us being able to do it and not talk about it. Yeah.
So what I hear, before I go on to anything else,
I don't know if this is appropriate for now, but when Commissioner Rucci, when he says that, I hear him and other folks say that, increasing their commercial base. I think one part that's missing under education is really educating the citizens about the choices that we make and how that impacts us in our commercial base. I truly believe that we have a lot of residents, they really do not understand that the choices that we make, how that affects the county where they live, where their children go to school as a whole negatively. And so when we talk about education, it goes back to operational excellence. When we get to ours, I think we have an opportunity to really educate, to do some campaigns to address what Commissioner Rucci is saying, really just so folks can see this is the impact, this is where we're hurting ourselves. So I really, I
agree with you.
I haven't really articulated that to you, Commissioner Rucci, or really said that. But if we could really hone in on that, I think in, what did you say, in 3 years, we'll be in a better place. And it will be, you can really monitor that and you can see an improvement.
all right. Sound like it's going to be a good article.
It depends on who's
I
writing
was
it.
going to say,
I may come
If
back
we
and
write it ourselves.
So I just wanted you to think about that. The one thing, and I usually say this to the end, and I'll say it to the end as well, just to find a mechanism or a way to come together and revisit these goals and how they're measured. And maybe it's a formal process. Maybe it's something in connection with the county administration. Maybe it's with the directors. Maybe it's getting more clarity. What does more check-in look like?
So with the previous administration, one of the things that we did based on your help before, when we set our operational goals, is that the county administrator created the accounting administrator monthly report. Mm-hmm. And I was part of having a conversation and setting up that report because I wanted to make sure the data was in there, that we could measure when we were doing well, when we were not doing well. And I would hope that you would take a look at that and possibly make it your own. But it was a good way, based on our goals, because the document was aligned with our goals, so like our goals we developed today. And so we can check in every month to see, and it was color-coded. So we know red, we're not doing too well. Green, we're doing well. And so I hope when we leave here today, you would give that some thought of a way to continue based on data, reviewing the individual goals, even monthly.
That was like a dashboard.
Yeah.
So with the dashboard, just because you see red or just because you see yellow, that means there's an opportunity for discussion. Doesn't
Right.
mean it's wrong, you're doing bad.
Right.
That means you come together, red and yellow and green, all that means is, how can I support you to get to where we need to be? And just like you said, if it's something is going in the wrong direction and we need to do something different, let's make that decision. So dashboards are good, and I think that's, one of the
And
things.
it gave us that opportunity monthly
Yeah.
to see.
While you're on that too, I'd like to also add, if we get a monthly report from economic development on what they're working on, people that are interested in coming, and also permits that are just sitting there, like for people trying to get businesses through, report on what's sitting after 21 days or 25 days every month, so we can monitor this and help progress and move stuff forward.
I agree with that. Just like we do with the CROs. Any other issue, we have a report so we can see what's been sitting around for 7 days, 14 days, or 30 days. That would be helpful. And I think for us it would be helpful for information, but I think it also would be helpful for staff. It's that accountability piece. And then also when you talk about smart city, you have everyone working together. If it's something I can do in my office to help you move your part ahead, it would help me to know. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So now's the fun part. We can take a break, or stretch break, 5-minute stretch break, bio break, or no break, or we can just keep going.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
Keep going? All right, let's go. So,
What's first in your mind, huh?
Who's on deck? All right. So what we're going to do here is they're going to share what the goals are, overarching the goals, and some of the themes under it, and the reasons why. We're not getting into specifics because that's work that you have to do. There are going to be things that come up that you don't know about, and there's going to just, there's going to be some things as you begin to get more and more time as a commissioner, and you don't want to relegate yourself to one specific item because it's coming. More is coming.
Right.
All right?
So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So our fabulous group was able to organize the overarching themes into two main areas. And so we'll first start with economic development. But remember, when we started together as a larger group, we just had economic development. And then with looking at what folks had put on the board, we realized that we were talking about how to develop our economy, but also what supportive services are necessary to bring businesses here, and when businesses come, to make sure that they are successful. So we have it broken down into 3 areas. Commercial development, industry, diversification, and specific services. So under commercial development, we have international trade, commercial tax base, and business attraction. Under industry diversification, we recognize that it would be helpful to make sure we have varying types of commercial bases and opportunities in the county. For example, research and development, biotech, and then also the natural resources and
Natural resource-based industries, that's right.
Natural resources-based industry. So when we're talking about the agricultural and the forestry and the fisheries, we need to focus on that. And of course, tourism. Tourism is also included under industry diversification. And also equally important is those services, because if we don't have the services in place, the businesses won't come. They won't be successful. We have internet access, which is a huge issue. Without proper internet access, companies won't even look at certain areas. Water and sewer. Water and sewer is not just access to water and sewer. Some businesses require a specific amount of water, and if we cannot supply them with the level or the amount of water they need, they would never come here. Transportation network. We really like transportation network because it's more just about roads, right? It's more about roads. It's also about safety. It's also about even our public transportation, van-go systems. Workforce development. We did put workforce development under here because if we bring businesses in based on our data, the census data, We are a heavily educated county, but we want to make sure that we have that workforce development. So when we have industry diversification, we have folks here in the county that can hold those jobs. And then, of course, business support. Business support is very broad, but we do recognize, not drilling down here, but you do have various supports that we could, that need to be in place to support when businesses want to come to Charles County.
Including the permit process.
Including the permit process. We talked about, and you're going to see something else on the next slide. I'm going to bring that up about Commissioner Rucci, what you said about permit processing, streamlining the process. You want to add anything else?
Yeah, before we go on,
I got
what's your
one thing I
thinking?
want to add. County government and all departments should buy local within our county of any businesses, like suppliers, stuff like that.
Locally sourced, you're talking about like a program, because Prince George's has one of those where you have to, contracts have to run through a process where you have to almost prove that you can't find a county business to supply
So
you.
you're saying a buy local program?
Buy local program to support our business in the county.
I can get a copy. I can get a copy of the one.
Hold on to that one thought, but I got the pen. I got the pen. That's a great. We're going to add that on our second page. Okay. Anything else for this? That's good.
Okay, thank you.
And I really want to make sure I pointed this out because I went by. I think it's really important that when we talk about economic development, we start training ourselves to really talk about the supportive services also. So I think that was a great add for our group. And so we had the largest category, I think it had the largest number of little Post-its, was transformational government. And so we started shifting through all of the Post-its and trying to figure out what went in certain areas. And the first thing that we realized is that we're talking about operations, right, the day-to-day work, and then we came up with operational excellence, right? Commissioner Collins, he said that he used the word excellence. We talked about how when the public leaves the government building, or if they're on the phone, or if they're online with email, we want residents to feel satisfied and that we went beyond the call of duty to any issues or concerns that they had. So that's where operational excellence comes from. And then, of course, public policy, right? Of course, public policy. So we were going through everything, and then we first started with operational excellence, and Commissioner Collins had a research paper that really talks about smart city county concept. You want to talk about that real quick?
I mean, it's an international theory of how any type of government can operate more efficiently, and to some degree the whole concept of transformational government is similar, but one of the key elements of the smart city, smart county theory is the integration of all government resources to act essentially, in units, as a unit. So a great example was the presentation that PGM did a couple of weeks ago, where they talked about how through technology they were beginning to integrate, a lot of services overall. And with the smart city, smart county concept, the entire government operation is basically acting in unison. Just think, for example, if there's an issue in PGM, information is supplied to PGM, should also be available to other components of county government. So again, we're working in unison, and so it creates that collaboration of sources of resources. And so that in a nutshell, and I'll provide copies to all of you of this, this position paper just describing, what smart city is. So.
Thank you. So that really talks about what Commissioner Collins just said, collaboration, right? We're going to need employees to be able to think outside the box. They're going to have to think about a new way. So that goes to collaboration, and this goes back to streamlining services. And then that's also equally connected to employee engagement, right? We're going to have to engage them in the process. They need to think outside the box and think about a new way. But that's also important for diversity and culture competency. inside and outside of government, right? Dealing with employees, our colleagues, but also dealing with the public. We have citizen engagement, making sure that we understand that in order to have an excellent operation, we need to include citizen engagement. In the paper, it talks about creating a government that is citizen-centric, okay? And really getting our synergy around our citizens. Automated technology, cybersecurity, and equitable program funding. And then we had public policy, legislation, leadership. We started with fiscal responsibility, and then we realized that it's really, we're talking about, we condensed a couple, we were talking about resource stewardship, making sure we're being responsible with our resources, which includes asset management and fiscal responsibility. I'm going to pause for 1 second and go back to what Commissioner Rucci said earlier. Refresh my memory. I said, hold on, we're going to go back to that. What did he say?
Buying
It
local.
was something else.
Buying local.
Buying local.
Right.
So I'm going to add that under public policy.
I'm trying to remember the name of what they call it in Prince George County. It's where when you go to make a bid for any county project, you almost have to go over and above to prove that that resource or that service is not available in the county. I'll give you an example. The marine unit, the boat unit for the police department. If there is not somebody within Prince George's County that could service the boats on the police department, then that's a reason to go outside the county. But if there's somebody in the county that can service those boats, you're gonna run it through a county business.
Right, and I think for this conversation, and we can definitely make a note and say, and I've had an issue or concern about this, it's buy local, but it's also, help me out, it's service.
Service.
It's procurement also, right?
Is that what you were talking about, procurement?
All the way around.
It's all
the way
of it.
around.
Contracts,
Right.
contracts, procurement,
Right.
everything, yeah.
Talking about that transparency and making sure that everyone has a fair shake.
Yep.
And we talked about what Commissioner Rucci just said about improving our commercial base, improving our commercial tax base.
Yeah.
We need people to understand that when you're doing procurement, it helps us if maybe there is a policy that you have to shop at home first, right? If it's a construction
If you're buying a
company or
big
something.
job, try to buy it through a local,
Right. And
construction
okay, I got
company.
one more thing after you go.
So adding to your buy local, under maybe a subtitle of also being, participating in minority business participation under somewhat of buy local contract. And even, we can maybe put something, it doesn't have to be
We
totally.
already have that.
Oh, you do? Okay, I just
we
asked,
do.
I asked Commissioner Collins that, he said he didn't.
I read the annual report.
Okay.
There's always room for growth. We need to
Right,
talk about
good,
that.
good.
Should we put, what you want, procurement
Procurement, I think that'd be a good word for it. Procurement process.
and, minority,
We just need to highlight it.
Highlight it, yeah.
businesses, right?
MBE.
Huh?
MBE.
Yep,
E,
participation.
right, okay. And lastly, anything, I have one more thing.
One
But if
question.
you have something else to add.
So for that program they run, the minority program, women and minority, is there a program that educates them on how to
Oh, yes.
apply for the process?
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
And they have special grants,
Yeah.
special loans.
They have the whole
In the
gamut.
last 4 years, I made a point to make sure I stay up on that and making sure that the information gets out there and also that,
Does that help them in the federal level too, like to get them break through that ceiling at the federal level, or is it just made?
That's exclusive
Yeah,
to
that's
Charles
right.
County,
Right.
although the model is consistent with the criteria used on the state level.
right. Yeah. And lastly, remember we started with transformational government, but through the conversation and looking at the Smart City paper, and it's really, I thought this was a good title for this. Institutional governance and policy, right? Because transformational is just about, it seems to me, it's all just about change. And what we're talking about is not just changing everything.
Sustainability.
But making sure, exactly. So I wanted to point out to make sure everyone that noticed that we did change the overall title. Anything else?
Anything else?
Told you we did a great job.
You did, yay.
Good job, good job.
Very good.
All right.
Hey, you're up.
You up, since you picked those titles.
You just wanted to get over there with that board.
You know it.
Oh, my favorite title over there.
The teacher came out of her.
She's been wanting to touch the board since she saw it.
Teacher came out of her.
Okay, all right.
I can't hide it.
I know you can.
Okay. There you
All
go.
right. We have the environment. So, for the environmental benchmark, we listed 3 different categories and kind of went underneath, and we wanted to leave room to expand after talking to the bigger group under the green building. The first one we highlighted was conservation programs, and what was great about our conversation is I'm very familiar with pretty much all of these programs, and I was able to explain to my fellow commissioners how each of these programs, Program Open Space, the Ag Land Preservation Program, the newly installed REPI program, the Rural Legacy Program, and the PDR program, all provide opportunities for different folks in different areas of the county to preserve their land, and it maximizes the amount of funding we can get from different resources such as the state and federal government, and it doesn't put as much burden on the financial end on the county. And so I explained to Commissioner Coates and Commissioner Rucci that different programs have different specified areas. Like Program Open Space, there's so many different things you can use it for. You can use it for parks, trails, stuff like that, to purchase property from private citizens in order for the betterment of the county, and it kind of helps protect our natural resources runoff. When we talked about total daily mass load, those type of things that contribute to the pollution that our different waterways. Ag land preservation is kind of self-explanatory, helps preserve our farms, gives the opportunity for farmers to sell their development rights, sell the ability to, in all of these programs, puts their properties in permanent easement. They can never, and just to kind of explain what it does is the government will come in, and if you have, say, 200 acres, and you don't ever want to sell the land for anything other than the purpose of forest, farming, or there's a reason. You don't want it to be built houses. The government can come in and offer you a payment for the land to permanently stay in easement and never be developed, but you get to keep the land. So basically they're paying you for the right, paying you to preserve your farm or your land in order to A, either not develop it, or B, turn it into a park. So I explained each of these programs have different areas of specificity. The Rural Legacy Program is one that is used throughout the state, and there's different, we have one Rural Legacy area in the county, in Vizcaya, and I've talked to Mark and a couple others about trying to expand that program, maybe to include the Madwoman, to give some of those folks an opportunity to preserve their farms and their land. It doesn't have to just be farms, it can be just swampland, and give them an opportunity to recoup some of those funds. So that was one of the things that we believe we needed to focus on over the next 4 years, and Commissioner Shore said about education, educating the public about these programs, and letting them know it's just not exclusive to farmers. If you own 200 acres in Nanjamwood, it's just forested land, you can get into one of these programs and have access to those funding sources. So that was one part. Any questions? Okay. Second part was kind of one we left wide open because we wanted to get input from the rest of the board, was green building. One thing that kind of stuck out in our head was the solar program, solar farms, stuff like that, and trying to find ways to improve our, our carbon footprint. And this would be something like solar farms, solar power, those type of programs would be something.
This is a green building right here?
Yeah, so that would be something that we looked into, and I guess we're looking to the board to say, are there any other programs you believe would be good to put under this title to be focused on?
I don't know if you really need any specifics, but I would be interested in not just solar, right? If we have those buildings where they're including those green building attributes or characteristics, that we have a policy decision about incentives, right? Incentives. Is it the actual building process incentives, or is it a tax incentive? I think like the roofs, like the special roofs, not just solar, but the special roofs, like
Stuff on top of it.
like St. Charles High School, things like that, or the water, recycling of water, collecting rainwater. All of this is a lot of different examples that could be used to fall under green buildings. I'm also interested in to see under green building, could we also have a policy or incentive in place where folks are looking at decreasing the amount of like asphalt, right? and the
Pervious
decreasing the pervious surfaces.
And I know that Commissioner Rucci had mentioned what you had said about incentives, because if we're going to, ultimately, these things are going to be requirement. Some of these, the solar issues we're running into, some of these are going to be required, so how do we incentivize the businesses in our county to do this? And that's what you brought up and what you've also brought up.
And one more, I know some people are not going to like me to say this, but a mandatory recycling program for commercial property.
Can you just put recycling program?
Recycling. But no, can you put down, because the county, we already do recycling, can you specifically put down commercial?
Commercial recycling.
You know, there was a bill floating in Annapolis to kind of increase and make make commercial more of a priority, commercial recycling. But I don't think MACO, if my recollection is correct, it wasn't one that MACO endorsed because of the cost.
The cost, right. So that's why I'm thinking, when you say green building, like we're moving forward, we're like, we're moving forward with future building. And it's probably a little bit, it's more cost effective if people can plan for it for future buildings.
Anybody else for the green building? And the last one we had under environmental was environmental management. And that kind of included our wastewater treatment plant, clean water supply, and stormwater management. And those are kind of vague, but those are three things we felt were important when it came to environmental management. And it kind of falls back into a lot of these programs. I mean, I'll be honest with you, just my background. A lot of these programs, there's going to be a lot of collaboration between the county government, soil conservation, University of Maryland, because a lot of these programs, DNR, Maryland Department of Agriculture, a lot of these programs come with funding to back it up. Like there's programs that will help fund the financial impact it will have on not only the county government, but personal and private citizens. So I think, me personally, letting the citizens know that there are things out there that can help them implement these policies.
It goes back to what you said about education, right?
Anything else for environment?
So far, so good.
All right.
Good, great job.
Next is education. So we had, I just one on me. We had three categories. We did the Board of Education, we did CSM, and we added Education Advisory Board / Committee. I'm going to let Commissioner Coates speak for the last one. They added that while I was getting a drink.
You shouldn't drink then.
Drink water. Water. Water, I repeat.
Well, okay.
So, Board of Education, we were pretty broad. Discussion on the funding the Board of Education and collaboration between the Board of Education and the Board of County Commissioners. A lot of programs that we were going to put in there, but we thought these are things that really are not under our purview, that are under the Board of Education. So we would like to have a good discussion with them about what we believe is the County Commissioners thing, that we are the main funding, or one of the main funding sources for them, where we believe, based on what we feel like we're getting from the community, are important to our citizens for the Board of Education. So kind of forming, and it might go into like maybe a retreat or something between us and the Board of Education, to sit down and discuss, hey, this is what we're hearing from our constituents. You have constituents, where can we meet and try to work on improving education in the county? And that through the Board of Education. Questions? I was ready for you.
And a lot of these have to do with funding too. It goes back to economic development. How much can we fund them? We try to fund them much as we can each year to our ability.
She's looking at me like she has a comment, but I'm holding the marker ready.
I don't know. So we're talking about goals for the commissioners, right? Right. You say Board of Education. I think, going back to what our goal for before, I think that's right in line, collaboration. I think we do a good job with collaborating. I think based on data, it shows that we've supported the Board of Education. I think for me personally, and I have a great relationship with our Board of Education, I think the breakdown for me, and you'll find, is that we will share with them the concerns that we're hearing from the county, but ultimately it's their decision of the line item. So we know that, and I just verbally, I'll say that's one thing I struggle with. The mechanism that we do have is that if we do want to step outside and fund something specifically, we can, and it would not go against our maintenance of effort. But I think that's really all for education you really could put. It's about the collaboration.
That's kind of how we got, because we started going in details and we're like, well, we can't really control that. That's something that the Board of Education makes decisions on where that funding is going to go. So that's where it kind of fell back on. So,
Right.
we're good.
Yes, when you say workforce development under CSM, what were you thinking about?
Workforce development, I mean, in my personal opinion, I'm thinking of our skill trades, kind of like what we did in Hughesville, where they put the skill trade in for like nursing and some of the skill trades, like electricians and stuff like that, providing that. Because to me, when I think of the Board of Education, I allow the other commissioners to speak on their behalf, I think, or when I talk with CSM, I think it's kind of like, there's some students that are ready for the 4-year college and want that 4-year college degree, want to go that route, but there's some that maybe are looking for jobs that require some additional education, but not quite the 4-year degree. And I think, again, it's collaborating.
It's probably right, collaboration.
Collaboration,
On there
that's
too.
the one.
Underneath that, yeah.
Collaboration. So collaborating,
So would the partners just be limited to CSM?
No, but I think using them as our main mechanism, because that's who we have used before, because they just opened the CTE program over there in Hughesville. So I would think that kind of sitting down with them and saying, what can we, it doesn't have to be there, but we can find other people to do. But when we thought of education, this is why we're having this discussion, I thought the two biggest education institutions in the county, Board of Education, CSM. So that's where we put them there. So if there's room for us to talk right now, and for me to add stuff to it, it was just, or us to, it was trying to think of how we can collaborate with the College of Southern Maryland to improve the living situations of our residents. And to me, these are some of the things when we were reading numbers about, the gaps in income and wages, and then how a lot of the business community is saying they don't have skilled employees to meet the demands of the workforce they have. Maybe we work with CSM to help educate the community at large about the programs that are available to get into a career that will help support them and their family.
I was bringing that up because I know that, with us being a funding partner with Tri-County again, that would also, workforce development is, clearly one of the focus areas. And
CSM/Tri-County Council, or you mean add them as another?
Well, I'm just asking.
No, I mean, I'm all
CSM
for
has a
it. You're
workforce
right.
development
They do have a
department
workforce.
too.
So do you want to make them a separate category? You want to put them? You want to take out CSM and put them, or what would you like to do?
I just want to make sure it's addressed in
How about
some.
CSM?
Well, that goes back to the what's the term Commissioner Collins you used earlier? The not manageable. To see if we're reaching our goals. What did you say earlier?
Benchmarks.
Benchmarks.
There's something else you said. Never mind, I'll think of it.
So you may put CSM and Tri-County Council? Or do you make them a whole different category?
Well, they do have a workforce development department, CSM.
So
as a
just put
separate-
slash
and
Tri-County Council.
Tri-County Council.
So put
has
slash
one as well.
Tri-County
So they
Council.
they do collaborate together.
Okay.
I have one more thing to add.
Sure. And I'm going to let Commissioner, is it under this one, or is it under this one?
It's a whole new one.
Okay, so before you go to the next one, is the emphasis on workforce development, or is it on?
That's what I was just thinking, so flip it.
So maybe
Make
it
workforce
might-
development is 2, and then put them under, is it?
That might be a little bit better,
So that would be,
It's a good point.
yeah.
Yeah.
this is 2, and this would be a dash. So can
Okay.
you see,
Mm-hmm.
it's like categories?
Yeah.
Or not categories, what's the little thing? Dictionary. All right, so you want to give me,
So my thought on the Education Advisory Committee was that to pretty much bring all of this together and to the Board of County Commissioners, that there's a committee that helps us collaborate and bring these thoughts and ideas behind these discussions of funding, the discussions of workforce development, all these discussions together to an Education Advisory Committee. Because right now we kind of get it one-off. Each of us kind of get some kind of meeting or conference with individually with these educational institutions, and it would be nice to actually put something maybe together I don't care what you call it, but putting something together to possibly bring it all together and bring it, like we have many advisory boards and committees, to bring it to the attention of the commissioners.
So we don't meet with the Board of Education and CSM one-off. We meet with them as a whole group. So Board of Education, Superintendent of Schools, President of CSM, Tri-County Council President, they all do come and present to the commissioners with their goals, concerns, and objectives.
Well, that is a case. I think that there are occasionally that there are some that may be interested in discussing some other opportunities, and that would be, to me, going to the advisory board and commission, advisory board and committee.
I do have a number 4. Please consider adding, falling under education, because education also includes employees. We have training programs, really focusing on our employees.
Continuing education, is that good?
Continuing education or continuing training. I think that should always be a goal.
Do you want me to put employee continuing education and training, or you want to leave it vague as to just continuing?
I don't know. We're
Continue
talking about
development.
the human aspect of the county.
So can you elaborate a little bit more on?
So like human
education.
human resources.
Human resource?
Human resource development. County human resource development, or just human resource development, and then in parentheses county, because it's ran through and organized through human resources, making sure we're giving county employees the opportunity to grow and to learn and to support their growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a nice benefit with employment.
Okay. And the last one?
Good job. I like that. Good job, everyone.
Quality of life. This was a difficult one. We threw a whole bunch of different stuff at us. So we kind of, the first one we went with was public safety, and then we went with healthcare, then we went with recreation and entertainment, and then affordable and workforce housing. For public safety, we left it kind of vague.
I suggested we should probably do collaboration on all those too, because basically
Okay,
it's
so
almost like
we'll
school board.
put collaboration for everything right here. Okay. Collaborate with the Sheriff's Department. Collaborate with fire and EMS, which would include volunteers and paid. And we left it kind of open because there's a whole lot of stuff goes into that.
This is all one word, so
Especially under, when you talk about fire and EMS, you know, my personal opinion, just how I feel, that we're going to be confronting things with the increase in population over the next, 10 to 20 years within the fire and EMS system, which is going to create a situation where we're going to need to have more paid. I would say, and from what I can tell, that EMS tends to be, the EMS and the medics tend to be the ones that are going to have to backfill with paid personnel. Firefighters, we tend to have, or we should have the volunteer capacity to fill that, but I wouldn't say that that's not something in the near future we wouldn't have to fund as paid firefighters, but the EMS and the EMTs,
We fund them all now.
Yeah. For the most part. So that's going to be a challenge moving forward, not only through budgetary reasons, but through personnel and through, are we going to have to get firehouses? Are we going to have, build our own? Because right now, the volunteers own pretty much own all of their facilities. So. Anything on public safety? Healthcare. Healthcare was up there. We put as one of our benchmarks, accessible, affordable healthcare. That's that's a very broad subject, and I know it's only so much we can do at a local level, but we've kind of leaving it open to hear feedback from you guys.
I think we're setting ourselves up by adding the word affordable. I don't think we have control over that. Accessible. I mean, we've done some things in the last 4 years that help with that.
Yeah, accessible.
It's accessible, yeah.
So, right, I'm
Affordable
fine with
under the
that,
health
but
department.
affordable, I don't think we should say affordable. But you used the word before that I think could be added here is about partnering. Like how we partner with health partners, partnering with the health department. I think
Collaboration with nonprofits.
collaboration or partnering, yeah, I think that's gonna be important. Because from the county, when we have issues, we have resources that the health department can use or people providing health services we could help support doing, getting information out to the public.
I think, I will tell you that from, at least from my perspective, I believe Commissioner Coates is, when we're talking about accessible, some of the more rural areas and trying to make sure, because there's a lot of transportation issues, and as we try economic development-wise, I know one of the biggest struggles that when you talk about major 55 and over projects in the rural areas, the first thing I look for is how close are you to medical services for the elderly patients that are going to be moving into these facilities. And for Waldorf and La Plata, that's not much of an issue. But when you talk Rhines Road, Cobb Island, so that there's some issues there. So finding, and I'm not saying the county should pay it, I'm saying seeing if we can find partners in collaboration with private.
That's why I said collaboration and partners.
Yep.
And they're working on right now, we met with them a few weeks ago, their health department's working, backing with President Collins said earlier about the systems commingling, what'd you call that? Well, we're trying to put our systems now, I think, in the health department from PGM, right? They're working on a project. That's what we had the last meeting about.
There was a medical facility that PGM was trying to get.
No, they're going to get our systems, like for environmental and all that stuff, they're tied together.
Right. So like the permitting, when they have to get.
They're working on it now.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's huge, collaboration.
So that's where we were
That's
kind of
huge.
stuck. We went under healthcare. Then we didn't go under healthcare because that was almost like environmental
There's
health.
so many parts of it.
But that is a legitimate thing that you're talking about collaboration. So trying to find, I guess, somewhere to put that is kind of a challenge for us.
Can you put, when you have health departments, you could put down health officer? So that's, as commissioners, that's our main role is to make sure we're supporting the needs of the health officer.
All right.
Would it be too specific to add under healthcare, some type of partnership or continued collaboration with University of Maryland Regional Center addressing the opioid issue? Because that came up yesterday at a meeting Mark and I attended.
Mental health too.
So do you just want to put
That falls under
Focus.
collaboration.
collaboration on the opioid epidemic and leave it at that? So
And we talked about that earlier, we didn't know how to write it down, so we're going to add it to it though.
It's just,
Because he brought that up.
it should be health issues.
And also, like, what are the sheriff's department?
It should be health issues.
Yeah, say health issues,
Yeah.
major health issues.
collaboration on major health issues?
Yeah,
Okay.
because you have the opioids, you have,
Mental health.
Mental health.
mental health, you have the prenatal issue. There's a lot of issues that the health department and the hospital is trying to work on.
A lot of that falls under the health department with the health officer. So when you're talking about the prenatal, you're also talking about Senate Bill 512, where there's addictions and the opioids, and there are many things.
And then opioids go back to the sheriff's part, what does he need from us to help get opioids off the street and drugs off the street and stuff like that?
Okay.
But that will fall with the health officer.
Right.
Back and forth.
And as commissioners, our job is to support the health officer.
Absolutely.
Anything else under health? All right, the next one was recreation and entertainment. We put some under stuff, parks, the stadium, and when we talked about the stadium, we were talking about trying to expand the uses and the use and options for the stadium. And I know it's not something that's new, that this is probably something that the last 4 boards of commissioners probably have worked on, but we thought it was important to move forward and look at ways we can use the stadium. I mean, and this is me, brand new commissioners thinking that, concerts and stuff like that. I don't know, I know there's issues with the field, but we thought that was important to try to get the maximum uses we could out of the stadium instead of being I don't want to say money pit, but.
Check the CIP.
Yeah.
We have
So, any on the stadium, anything to add?
not the stadium, but going back to the parks.
Okay.
We said waterway recreation. Parks, can we include park/amenities? Because I had, one of my meetings last night, and it keeps coming up. And we've made small gains, extremely small gains, but we need to I would like for us to focus on the specific amenities in the parks so we can improve and increase the type of usage that are going on in our existing parks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then Bob came up with this one, agritourism, that's something to me, but supporting that in the county, I know it was
That going with our vineyards or whatever we
Yeah.
support,
Vineyards,
you know.
working with
Distilleries,
Sematic, and that
vineyards,
can
yeah.
help with that. Waterway recreation, I think goes back to kind of like, this kind of commingles with tourism, and then festivals and the fairgrounds. I'm trying to, promote, encourage to have festivals at our different venues in the county.
And we were talking about that when we said, everybody else, a lot of nonprofits put on these festivals and stuff, but Charles County doesn't do any festival that I know of, that the Charles County government supports. I thought that might be something for.
We have.
Have
We
we?
have, yeah. But I agree, we could definitely do better.
We could do more.
We could do more, we
Yeah,
could do
yeah.
better.
I mean, something as a county though, we could do really big,
I like that. I disagree with the term fairgrounds being on there.
Yeah.
I don't think that should be on there, that's a private owned,
And let's cross
That's
that out
privately owned.
and just put festivals and.
festivals. So like an
But there's
annual
not-
event, right?
there's not too
Annual
It could be at the stadium.
event.
Yeah.
Like we do Fourth of
Yeah.
July
Yeah,
there.
at the stadium.
But there's not too many we promote, we could do a lot more at that.
Right.
at the
Yeah.
county level.
One of them is at the
It could
stadium.
be huge for the county, at the
Yeah.
county level doing it.
Okay.
And I was wondering about waterways, we got what, how many miles, 200 some miles of?
That's a lot of waterways.
There's not a whole
yeah.
lot of places you can go on the water, I mean, that's one of the things we really need, because we got beautiful waterways and there's no access to a lot of them.
Right.
We have we've made small improvements on that, but definitely we need more.
Is it too far-fetched for us to consider revisiting discussions on Marshall Hall Park?
Nope.
That's what I was
No,
going to
I
mention.
love
Want to put it
that.
on there? Marshall Hall?
And tourism,
I'd
and
love to see
even
that.
taking them to the we can probably adapt some of the
I
MGMs.
remember going as a kid.
Yeah. Some of them,
Wilson Land.
from National Harbors.
Okay.
So,
One of
If you
the
got
things-
something like that, you'd have
Yeah.
tourism come with a boat down there.
right,
to watch,
exactly.
yeah.
Yep, you come to the,
You have recreation and entertainment, but you really don't, you really haven't, in the title, it says recreation and entertainment.
Yeah, because we just took the
Really-
two sticky notes.
And in the bulleted points, we're really not focusing on entertainment. Maybe now Marshall Hall will focus on entertainment, but I think we could do a better job and have policies that support entertainment in the county. We have policies in place that really does not support different type of entertainment, night entertainment, weekend. So I don't know.
how do you put
No,
that?
I'm glad you raised that. I mean, and we talk about building our economy.
Yeah.
I'm glad
That's
you
an
raised that.
easy way.
And we have a lot of, our local laws and the way, and the way laws are implemented, it actually harms the potential of building, a potential,
And it stops businesses.
and nightlife. I mean, that's something that, our laws are inconsistent with our ability to even attract that type of business.
It's starting to fall under economic development again.
I'm back at that chart right here,
And
so.
part of the base mentioned about the amenities, the recreational activities and amenities that are not attracting the young people that work there, that workforce on the base. It's just they're not coming because there's not enough of those amenities. And so, so there we have a situation where we're gonna, that Indian Head is
You
one
want
of
to
the.
Smith it up for us?
I really am.
Can we, for industry diversification under economic development, can we add entertainment sector?
Do you want to take out recreation and entertainment and put it on
No,
there?
no,
Recreation
No.
is different than
So you want to take out entertainment?
no, I'm not saying delete it, I'm just saying I think we can add it under
Oh, you want to
industry
add on your
diversification.
You want marker?
Yeah, I have. So industry,
I would put down entertainment, what did I say, entertainment? Industry. Yeah, thank you.
can everybody agree on that?
I'm fine.
Good?
Because we're gonna need policies in place to support,
The library don't
Which
have
document?
because I don't put that down for your thoughts.
we didn't put it on a policy, but still,
All right, ready to move to the next one?
Yes?
And the very last one was, under this quality of life was affordable housing, affordable/workforce housing, and it was put under quality of life for obvious reasons. and I see that one of the things we put down is
Housing Authorities Committee,
oh,
and so.
Commissioner Coates speak on it.
That's a kind of a commission, I'm kind of piggybacking off of Commissioner Collins. We talked about that during open session at one of our sessions, so you might have something to elaborate on that.
No, I mean, it's certainly something that, one, it was consistent with the conclusions of that study that was done by through the charitable trust, you know, to establish that type of committee. Also, what should also be considered is the idea of a housing trust fund. I think that if we look at this, I know funding for it will obviously be an issue, but I certainly want us to explore the possibility and look at that as a long-term plan. And the final thought I would have on the affordability issue, I want us to at least make a conscious effort at addressing the overall homeless issue, and we tend to not talk about that when we're discussing affordable housing. But in my mind, you know, I think there's definitely a consistency in looking at, you know, our policy and addressing the homeless issue, because we just can't get around it. I mean, it will continue to be an issue that we'll have to address, and I think that this board should at least make a conscious effort at looking at what we could do to address the issue.
Is there any, maybe check the way you're talking about that, you look online, you see these mini houses, you see the houses made out of the,
shipping
out of shipping containers. They're gorgeous when they get done with them. Is that something we should check in the codes to help our affordable housing, if we can build stuff like that?
Somebody's talking about one of those.
It'll be a whole nother avenue for us.
I've been actually researching that for a couple of years. I was actually thinking about going out to one of the facilities. I saw, and I talked to some people, it's one in out in Texas. I've always thought that it would be a great idea. Based on the ones that I've looked at, they're not projects ran completely by the county or the state. If we do that, it's definitely a joint effort. And so a lot of times you have your nonprofit organizations that steps in. And based on my research, I think we would be in a perfect place to support something like that, to making sure the codes and the policies are in place to support that. Because I found that a lot of these nonprofit organizations, you have a few churches that wanted to do that in communities, and you know what the first problem is? People push back and people don't want it. And then the elected officials don't put the policies in place to make it so these people can institute the mini homes, the mini houses. You have water, you have electricity. I've seen some where they have the community centers, so they have the services.
Definitely a lot cheaper to build. I mean,
and they're very green from what I've seen. And it's like $30,000 per home.
Right. And some, I've seen some that's less.
Yes.
Some and you help folks to become self-sufficient and be able to stand on their own because they have responsibility.
But you have codes and you make them. You put them where, you know, just like you would do a HOA, you'd have them gorgeous and have them nice, and they have to be a certain way to build.
Yeah, they build their own little community, basically. They have community.
Nothing
and most of them are very green. I mean, that's kind of interesting to see them. They have rooftop greenery and garden greenery around them.
So from a policy standpoint, and as commissioners, as we're setting our goal around affordable housing, workforce housing, and then like was just said about the homeless situation, I think that we're talking about setting a goal to make sure that we collaborate and partner with nonprofit organizations, and we're setting policy that supports any of those initiatives.
One thing that I've heard from Commissioner Collins and Commissioner Stewart and Commissioner reaching out is about outdated zoning that needs to be fixed.
It's a lot.
What's that?
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I don't know where that fits.
Glad you forgot that.
So I don't know where you fit that in. Would that be under economic development or under policy?
I think that falls under the,
Just on the dam over there.
I think that falls under, what do we put, institutional governance and policy.
So a comprehensive zoning review?
Should we put that down?
I think so, yes.
I think that falls under collaboration and streamlining services.
Okay.
I think that's our,
As
that's
long as,
all
I mean,
under
to me,
that.
as long as it's up there, because that
Yeah.
sounds like from the nightlife to the entertainment to the affordable housing, there's just so many different aspects, and I'm not gonna lie,
Second bullet, section.
agriculture, there's so many different aspects of the county.
Industry.
Industry that are affected by.
Yeah.
What is it that
I
you're
would
doing?
Industry.
put, besides streamlining services, I would put slash and add it to that one.
What's the word?
Comprehensive zoning review.
Okay, so comp. You say zoning, that goes back to zoning and policy review.
Mhm.
You should say that because that's going to be one of my projects.
All right then,
Take
great
people.
job, guys.
Yeah.
We're done at 3:00.
So I just wanted to, so when you, just want to clarify, so when you're talking about Housing Authority Committee, as part of that conversation, homeless will be in there, and you're not making that a separate issue? Even though it is, but this is a part of, when you talk about affordable housing, homelessness is going to be part of that
It
conversation.
has
No,
to
actually,
be. It has to be.
I would say, I think the overarching theme is housing for all. Housing for all.
How about one more category? I feel good after today. How about Charles County's open for business? How can we help you not say no to you?
How can we tell you no?
Well, we kind of addressed things.
Does he address it kind of like
It's our
this?
messaging.
Yeah.
So for housing for all, I think for this conversation, so we're talking about the folks that really would benefit from affordable housing. We're talking about our homeless population, but remember that also housing for all also includes our seniors,
Yes.
right? Includes our seniors. Different types, no, I think housing for all captures all of it.
Okay.
But I'm just verbalizing that to the group,
Okay.
that when I say that, that's what I mean.
Absolutely.
Well, I think you guys have been fabulous today. Give yourselves a round of applause. Okay. So let's talk about some next steps. So what happens from here? Before I do that, is there anything, do you want to do it now, or do you want to do it amongst yourselves as the commissioners to decide what are the vital few? The 3 things that you want to work on. Maybe all of this is new, you see it on paper and you say, you know what, let us maybe this is the first blush, and then you go back and say, once we meet again and have another conversation, because right now this is all ideas and things we want to work on, maybe after we have another conversation, you can say, these are the things that we want to focus on first. But, you decide, you want to talk about it today, but I really think that it's the work of you guys having another meeting and collaborating on what we've talked about today.
When you say, what do we want to work on first, are you saying, I think you used the word, the number 3.
The vital few.
three?
The vital few.
The vital few. Are you saying just to prioritize them in order?
If you can say, what's the hot button topic here? What is the one thing we need to focus on right now because sky's falling?
Economic development, in my opinion.
Okay.
That's my opinion. That pays for everything else.
I would say what's our second one? What was the title? Institutional governance and policy. I think that should be number 1, because no matter what comes out, everything that comes out of that portion is going to drive all the other areas. You have to make sure that policies in place, understanding expectations are in place before you can really tackle in the other areas.
Would it be fair to say there's an internal number 1 priority and an external number 1 priority? Like internally, what Commissioner Stewart just said, that's our internal number 1 goal, but externally, from what the public is dealing with, is the number 1 thing is economic development. Is that a way to look at it, or no?
I don't.
It's your
asking,
group decision.
I don't see it as internal and external, because both parts have internal and external. I think, can't we look at 2 things as the 2 things that are most important and it needs to be focused on
Concurrently?
first, concurrently?
What does the group say?
I think those two. I mean, because you're talking about the operation overall, And without a functional way of getting to what we're trying to accomplish, we won't accomplish our overall goal.
I got one question. Under economic development, do we have that tied into PGM at all?
It's the business service
It's
support,
service
business.
support,
Business
business
support, yeah.
support.
And,
Okay,
and,
all
and
right.
like the smart,
Yeah, that's- I
the
mean, that's
smart
gonna be so
county
close
concept
together,
kind of
that's it.
addresses,
Right,
you know, some of the issues like in specific departments.
we talked about PGM, but in the short period of time that Commissioner Collins was talking about smart city and how about if we can think outside the box and make sure that we can streamline and change the way we're doing business to better support our businesses, it includes more than just PGM. So that's why we just put business support.
Yeah, it's gonna
Public
be,
Works.
EDD, PGM,
Uh-huh.
and,
Code departmental
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
One thing that, you know, I don't know if it was brought up or
Collaboration.
it was somehow mentioned, and it was something I've heard is, it was in this report, the issues with just, I know it's been an abnormally crazy year with water, but the drainage and those type of issues, the water issues, like with, what we're dealing with stormwater management and all that stuff, it just seems that's like really,
a big-
really, really important.
It's a huge issue.
So I don't know, how does that fit into, because I think that's like a really specific,
That falls under your environmental piece.
okay, yeah, sure.
Wastewater
The one I did.
management. But also understand that falls under our infrastructure piece with public sewer and water.
You're right. So, you're right.
Yeah.
Was. Okay. Answered my question.
So we do have a vital,
I would say we
Two.
have our top two.
Two.
And
Okay.
not to minimize one or the other. I think they're equally important.
so how many goals are we walking away with today?
We
So
have
we're walking two,
And you got three.
three,
Yeah, so 5.
so 5. So we have 5 goals,
Eight down to five.
More important.
8 down.
And right.
So I think that's great work. Is there anything that would help you to be more supportive of the goals, such as checking in more often? I told you I would come back with this, checking in more often. I think you talked about, Commissioner Stewart, about the monthly reporting. Is
Like
there
the
anything else, like the
dashboard.
dashboard, that was?
I wonder if there's something that can go to employees to let them know. I mean, I know you're going to put something out, but to remind them constantly of what is important. I mean, because I know, like, the previous board has that policy statement. Remember we were talking about it was over at Department of Recs. What's it? So they have that.
That's a leadership philosophy.
The leadership philosophy. They have that everywhere. And I'm not saying that it has to be everywhere, but somewhere where they can be constantly reminded of what's important to this
well,
board.
once this gets done, I mean, basically, you're gonna take a mark and implement the policies on the different things, correct?
And just make sure that, I think, to speak on what Commissioner Bowling just said, for the, like the staff portal, if on that landing
Yep,
page, that's
yep.
basically blank, right? There's a lot of white
Highlight this
page.
stuff, yeah.
Why don't we highlight this? It could be something that you could revisit and maybe change out every month or to add to it. And then I think it would be equally important, and I really value employee feedback, if we can have specific feedback on the goals once they are created. And as we move through and we start to be able to check off and really report how we're doing in certain areas, even ongoing if we get feedback.
Do we need to
That would
write
be
those
great.
monthly reports down on the 2 departments we talked about earlier, or you already got that? Remember, we talked about every 30 days, give us a permit report, every 30 days, give us a
Right, that's-
EDD, that's set, we're good?
And
Operational.
then lastly, or for me at least, with this packet we're going to do, it's going to go to employees. And my next question is, would this go to boards and commissions? Because they're implementing a lot of our policies. They're reviewing, I mean, you're talking about Planning Commission, Board of Appeals, Liquor Board, zoning, I mean, all that stuff. Are they going to get a copy of this so that they're coming in kind of knowing where the commissioners are coming from, not telling them what to do, but letting them know that kind of this is where we're coming from. This is
Yeah.
something maybe
Good idea.
like an introductory packet. When you get sworn in here, this is, read this.
Well, yeah.
Good
Is
idea.
that okay?
No reason you can't do it.
All right, great, yeah.
I just thought, Commissioner Rucci just said something, I flipped the board, I thought we should add it, and I lost my train of thought. It was information and something sharing, something you just said.
No, I was reports on, so many days on permits, how long they're sitting, and economic development, what's coming in the county, they're gonna give us that information once a month, or once every 21 days, or whatever it is. So nothing's sitting that we couldn't help with that we don't know about.
So, is it information and data reporting?
Yeah, based on both what's sitting and, I mean, if we're gonna get that jump started, we need to move these two departments together and sync the best we can, yeah.
That goes with your constituent services, your customer services that's tied into those.
And I think by us getting a report, there's gonna be a whole lot sitting.
Right.
Also want to bring up
And
to
that's
Mark, I
accountability.
shared with HR, and when you talk about ensuring that the employees know what's going on, it's called huddles. And so what they do is, and I'll send her over a copy of one of the huddles, is it has the vision and what you're trying to achieve, but every week or however often you do it, everybody huddles. So if it's the head department, once a week they huddle about a topic. So that might be something that you want to kind of talk about a little bit more with her. And I think, because everybody's hearing the same information at the same time, and so there's no deviation about what's going on. So maybe you have your huddles on Wednesday or Mondays or Tuesday, but every week, every department has a huddle. So they know what's going on, what's coming down the pipe. Okay?
Where it talks about efficiencies, so, right?
So again, great work. Next steps, I'm going to take these and I'm going to wordsmith them, and I'm going to come back, give me a week to put that back. And remember, we talked about what it would look like. We showed you, do you need to see that again? What they would look like? Okay, well, good. This is a fast working group. So you know what it's going to look like, and I'll get that back to you. And great job, great day. So thank everyone for coming and being a part of it and being engaged in the process. It really helped out. Thank you.
Thank you, Son.
All right, you're welcome.
Closed session.
Mr. Collins, we'll need to make a
So is there,
motion to adjourn.
is there a motion
So
to
moved.
adjourn?
So moved.
Moved
Second.
and properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
I would like, once you read it,
Okay.